All right, hello and welcome to the Sooth Singers podcast. I have my guest here, LJ. She is a wonderful music photographer, but little known fact, she's also extremely good at taking pictures of beards. So if that suits your fancy, let her know. Thank you, Elle. I'm so happy to see you here.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on and hanging out. I'm really
Yeah,
happy to be here.
well, awesome. Well, I'm really excited to meet you. I've taken a look at your profile and stuff like that and some of your work, and it's just really incredible. Actually, I'm not bragging here. I'm not even putting you on a pedestal, but it's the best that I've seen.
Shh, stop it. Thank you.
I'm
That's very
serious.
kind. That is very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
receive that.
Absolutely. I'm curious to know how you got into this whole thing. Tell me about that.
Oh man. So I've been photographing for 20 years. I started out trying to get into shows for free because I was really into like the kind of scene, the screamo hardcore sort of space. And there was a venue here in Sacramento that I was like obsessed with, and all my friends were going, and I was like, I'm going to start taking pictures of shows, and then I don't have to pay cover on anything. And so, I mean, because, $5 was a stretch for 20-year-old me. But
Yeah.
I mean, I've been photographing longer than that, but like really this like section of it was because I just wanted to go to shows and I wanted to be out and doing things. Um, and at some point, my journey shifted to like weddings and portraiture and all of that stuff that's very not music centric. And then I had another shift in about 2012 where I needed to come back to music. And so now I'm back in the music space, and
Awesome.
I don't feel like, I mean, I photograph everything, but my
Yeah.
heart is like centered deeply in the music realm.
Good. Good. Well, it's good to have you back.
Well, thanks.
That's that's such a funny way to get into something. You wanted to get free, essentially free entry into venues, so you took up photography. It's not often you hear something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of us probably did. Well, maybe it wasn't fully that. I had a camera that I was like, I like taking pictures of things. I can get
Ah,
into and it just grew from there. So I saved $5 and used hours and hours and hours and hours. I'm not a good business person, clearly. My ROI was not the
well, it looks like you're doing very well now. I mean,
I do okay.
you you go international as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
So because a lot of my focus is in the drum world.
Hmm.
A lot of my clients are everywhere because I'm based in Sacramento. And so we have a wonderful music community here, just really
Hmm.
beautiful, delightful music community. And we have a very limited amount of drummers. And because I started out a drum specific community, um, the person that kind of the catalyst to me building on that is really well known in the industry, and he's a big educator. And so
Hmm.
everybody was like, "Ooh, what is he doing? I want that." And so it just kind of everybody from everywhere said, "Come to me, and also come to me, and also come to me." And so I've been all over the country, and I've done these big tours, and I'm still, going all over the place specifically for drums. And so that's included the Caribbean and the UK and Europe. And I mean, it's been really an incredible experience, all from drums.
Yeah,
And I'm not
what a
even a
journey.
drum,
Say again?
and I'm not even a drummer,
Yeah, that's
which is
that
what.
I was wondering, right? So what is it about drums in particular?
So at the beginning, I was like, okay, it's drums. That's great. Drums are great. We love drums. Fantastic. It was a very benign interest. It wasn't overly passionate. I wasn't like, yeah, we need percussion up in here. Like there was never a moment where I was like so gung ho about drums until I met drums, until I met drummers, until I studied and learned about the history of drumming and how many things rhythm specifically plays a part in our everyday lives. The way we breathe, the rhythm of existence
Hmm.
is it blows my mind.
Hmm.
But if you bring it down to like the instrument level, the
Yeah.
craftsmanship that goes into building an instrument is so insanely specific. And if you do not have one specific wood or whatever, if you're looking for a particular sound, and your lugs aren't tuned the proper way, if you have the wrong kind of build, or if the metal is warped in a certain way, or if the head is sitting incorrectly, or it's not, like, there are all these different things that it's like,
Yeah.
if you don't know what you're doing, there's going to be somebody who's going to be like, your snare sounds like no, your snare sounds like garbage, and they're
Yeah.
relentless about it. So
Wow.
it's an incredible feat of craftsmanship to build a drum. So that's why I love that. I like all instruments. I've just happened to find myself really deeply entrenched into the drum world, and it's such a good community of humans. Everybody's so wonderful and so kind and so welcoming. And despite the fact that I am not a drummer and have never been so, everybody was like, "You like us? Come play, come be our friend." And I've been welcomed with open arms and enthusiastic hearts for the last 10 years. And it's been really amazing. 12
Oh,
plus
of course.
years.
Yeah. Well, with the quality that you bring, that alone would have people raving, but then it's the personality as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
You said that you studied drums, like actually playing. Is that right?
So, okay, if you were to sit me behind a kit, I could probably keep up.
Okay.
Uh, so I can play. I'm just not a drummer. But
Uh-huh.
when you're around drummers and when you're around people who are genuinely obsessed with it, there's a challenge, and I'm perpetually in pursuit of knowledge. I
Okay,
love
yeah.
I love collecting information. I love like little tidbits of things that other people might not know. I'm like, did you know? Um, and so when you're around people who are really passionate about a thing,
Yeah.
it's by osmosis that education just comes so quickly, and you're challenged then to seek out more information, and you're challenged to be like, okay, but why does that exist, and where did this specific beat originate? Oh, that's from that, and this has deep cultural significance here, but we're using it for, okay. So much of what I've learned has been specifically from somebody saying, this is why I use this. And it was a very small tidbit of information that made me go, looks like I'm Googling for this afternoon. Let's find out more. So the study is just so that I can understand why things are the way they are.
Yeah. I I had a feeling. I had a feeling. You can kind of tell with the character of a person, the way that they engage with information. There's a there's a certain behavior that comes with it.
Okay.
I'm exactly the same way,
Yeah.
actually. And
I
that's how I
enjoy
got into
knowing.
everything that I'm into.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Sorry, I
enjoy.
cut you off. What'd you say?
No, it's okay. I just enjoy knowing things. I enjoy like the collection of information and saying, okay, this is why we do stuff. There's not enough
Yeah.
hours in the day to know all of the things, obviously, nor would I
No.
want to know all of the things about everything. But I have a very specific field of knowledge,
Mhm.
and it benefits me when I'm working in that space. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a good question to ask. One of the one of the best feelings that you can have, as I'm sure you know, is discovery. It's just like a gift that keeps on giving. You
Mm-hmm.
learn something, it raises two more questions, like a hydra, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you essentially got into a drum specific interest because of a certain drum teacher. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you said this before, but how did you exactly meet?
So my old studio was in this little, it's like a historic district street. It's a main street sort of situation, small town, gold rush
Mhm.
town. Um, and I was photographing for one of the venues in this little area. And um, I just happened to hear a couple of guys laughing in the corner. And I can't leave laughing people alone because I want to be a part of the party too. Let me know what you're laughing about. And so I went and talked with them for a little bit, and I was like, "What's up, guys? What are you doing?" Just talking back and forth. They were probably they were a little older than me because I was like 28, 29 at the time, and um, they were probably 40, 50. And they were like, we started talking, and they're like, "We're here for a drum camp," and I said, "You're here for a drum camp, like a camp camp? That's like that's kind of dorky." That's you guys are like adults. Okay. Um, so anyway,
Yeah.
turned out they went back to their teacher and they were like, hey, we kept talking and it was fun. And I didn't say that it was dorky, but they went back to their teacher and they're like, you need to meet this girl. She's crazy. And so he came to my studio because his drum education center was like very close to where my studio was. And he was like, I want to hire you. I like your work. I've seen, whatever. He sent it to my Facebook. And so we started working together, and then we started working together a lot. And then I shot some magazine stuff for him, and I shot all of his camps, and there's just all these little bits and pieces that we did. And from there, everybody was like, oh my gosh, this girl pays attention to us, and she knows how to shoot a drum, and it's not it's not cheesy. I didn't like to shoot the cheesy things. There's like so much light coming in here. I'm sorry. And
I was like that this morning over here.
What's that?
Yeah. It was like that this morning over here.
Yeah.
I was shooting an intro video. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, and so people just started paying attention, and because there's a lot of lag at the time in how media portray drummers. Nobody pays attention to drummers. They put them in the back. Like, you get in the back. Hopefully the photographer gets you during the show.
Yeah.
And usually there's some moment where like, give the drummer a little attention, whatever. And then inevitably there's somebody that's going to point a stick at you. And I'm like, I don't like that. I'm not a fan of the stick point. Don't love it. It's like 1994 and it's not how we're living anymore, guys. So I shifted the way I photographed people, and it was well received. And it was, and people just really liked it. And then I stuck with it. And then I met a lot of wonderful humans.
Wow. So that's a little foreign to me. I want to understand. So there was a shift. There's a shift. Like you said, there's a lag in the.
Yeah. And so as far as the coolness, so guitarists always get like the forefront, and singers and everybody who's in the front gets the forefront of how media perceives them. Right. So there was this, it was a lag where everybody was still photographing drummers like it's the 90s. And it's like, but drums are cool. We can shoot drums like everybody else, like they're fashion, like they are, there's all of that stuff. And so, and people just weren't offering that sort of imagery to drummers because they were just happy to be here. They were like, cool, it's great. And all the same people were on the magazines, all like every single time, all the same people were getting the attention that they had in the early 2000s and in the 90s. And it's like, well, we need to get fresh eyes on things. And I think there was a huge shift in the late 2000s and then the 10s, that space where there was more attention being brought to drummers, and there was like, oh, you guys are actually really cool, and you are incredible musicians, and you're not just hitting stuff. You are creating this incredible music, and you're not like a weird jazz guy. I love jazz musicians. I love them. Oh, of course. But there are some guys where you're like, ooh, you are out there, my dude. Nobody can comprehend what's happening in this polyrhythmic space unless you are an educated Berkeley MI musician. Hold on. I'm going to get out of this sunshine a little bit.
Yeah. Get that thing out. Good. So
there we go.
That's really interesting. So we don't know for sure, but it seems like you were at least a forerunner in the new movement of like drum photography, where
I was in the right place at the right time. I wouldn't say that I was any kind of like forerunner in any space. I didn't change the game at all. But I definitely was really fortunate to find myself in a revolution as far as how music was, how media portrayed drums. So I happened to know how to shoot this one particular way. And I was open to shifting. I was open to saying like, okay, well, how do you want to be seen? How do you want to be perceived? How do you want people to consume your imagery? And giving them an option. Because not 100%. Everybody wants to be seen as like the rock, no, not everybody wants that. Sometimes you want to have, and not everybody wants to have the very like demure jazz. I'm very responsible. Look, Some people just want to look like a hot dude or a hot girl. Like sometimes you just want to show up to a shoot and be like, please make me look good. Please. My favorite thing is working with an artist and being like, okay, we're going to get the stuff that you want to get for your brand, but
Mhm.
also I want to know what your partner wants to see in you. I call him the panty dropper. I'm like, I want to get a panty dropper for your wife. Like let's get that picture for you. Um, because that's just nice. It's just nice to come out of a shoot and be like, okay, maybe I am a little bit attractive. Maybe I do look good. Okay. So
Wow. Yeah, that's an aspect I never even thought about. But there's something about that, Al, which is that your openness to jumping in on an opportunity is what led you there.
yeah,
A
yes.
student of mine once said that I said to him I was lucky in meeting my teacher who was a Grammy nominee, and he said, "Luck is yeah, you have to be at the right place at the right time, but you did work to be there,
Mm-hmm. There's
right?"
the work to be there, and then there's the I don't know the whole story here, but I'm going to say yes because I know that there is more that lives on the other side of yes. I know that there is adventure on the other side of yes. I know that there is opportunity on the other side of yes. And yes has served me very, very well.
Wow, that's a that's massive.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
powerful message.
Well, and we're always taught because I really enjoy the concept of no as well because I overcommit and I really love helping people. I love being like, yeah, I got you. What do you
Yeah.
need? But no is incredibly powerful as well. So when you can say, you know what, this is a time for me to take a little bit of a chance. I don't know what's going to happen from here, but the story is going to be great. Yes, sign me up. Let's do it. And so there have been a lot of opportunities that been given that have lived on the other side of I don't know, but okay, let's do it. And it's opened up stupid doors for me, stupid amounts of doors.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel completely the same way, and I know our viewer is going to feel inspired by that because
I hope so.
we're a particular bunch here, right? So that's why I was so I felt I felt I mean I approached you, right? But I felt in a way I was jumping into an adventure as well
Good,
by having you on the show.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not necessarily in the singing realm, in the vocalist realm. I have been, but
Oh, you have
in
been.
small levels. But yeah,
Uh-huh. Well, that's good because the great thing about it is that your wisdom and your experience applies to all art and creativity
totally,
on a
absolutely.
broad level. And
Well, thanks.
yeah, yeah, and it is inspiring to hear your story. Just you're a go-getter, and that's really cool.
Sometimes, but I'm also a like, do I have to go and get anything today? Because I like to take a nap.
We all have our days, right?
I definitely have my days, and actually, post pandemic, I'm much more like, but maybe we could just cuddle up and not do things today sort of person. And I'm trying really hard to like escape that now because I'm like, oh, but there's so many more adventures to have. Let's have adventures. So I'm now ramping back up. Like this
Good.
this week I'm headed to Florida for the beard thing. I have the national the national beard championships are happening in Daytona Beach, and so I'm headed out there for that's the next adventure for the nationals.
I had no idea that was happening here. I've been to Daytona once.
Yeah, I
I
love
am in Florida, so
Daytona.
that's a funny coincidence.
I've been all over Florida, but yeah, so I photographed beard competitions also, and that was a total accidental thing as well that I fell into. Um, but they're beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing to photograph. It's just like drums, where it's like there are so many little nuanced bits of it, and like um, certain things that make a fancy beard, and it's wonderful. It's all for charity. We raise a ton of money for charities. Um, yeah, so it's fun. It's a fun little community.
That's so awesome. I mean, I can imagine how actually transitions. It might not seem like it on the surface, but a lot of drummers have beards. I mean,
That's true, they do. Also, I found this is kind of a weird thing. There are very few drummers that are unattractive, and I don't know how that works out. Where I'm like, can we get some uglies? What's happening? Nobody is unattractive here. So many attractive drummers,
it's such a crazy
beardy or
thing.
otherwise. It's that makes my job easy.
That's awesome. Great. Well, I have to think about that.
So,
I don't think I know any.
don't think too hard on it.
Okay. I'll do my best.
It's not that
So,
big of a deal.
one thing I'm curious about is what you've seen in the world of music aside from the visual aspect, just like the experiences that people are having on stage.
Hmm.
Tell me about that.
As far as uh, existing inside the music,
Yeah,
or as far as how they're performing, or
all the above.
I have to mull this over for a second. Um, so it depends on the person, right? So every person has a different way that they exist on stage. Some people, they're performers, 100%. They are there, they know their music. That is kind of a background thing. And they're there specifically for the conveying that music in an entertaining way to the people who are consuming it, right? Um, they're very good at the when I'm in the pit for a show or something, they're very good at being aware of where the camera is. They're very good at knowing who's paying attention, and they'll point at audience, and they'll like make sure that they're throwing their picks out to people, and they're very engaged. And then there are some people who are just in the music. There are people who they like retreat into it, and they are 100% with the music right there, and there is no connection with the audience. There is no like, it's just, I am here with this, and this is my space. And those people are so special and so wonderful, because you're like, oh, they feel it. Well, for me, they're special because I can see that, and I know that that's where they are. I'm like, they have transcended. They are not with us right now. They're 100% with the music. um and I love that so much, so much, because you're like, they want to be here. They
Yeah,
like being here because that music is special. The performers like being here because they like that engagement. They like giving the
right.
fans the thing. They
Yeah,
like maybe like they like the attention. Maybe. Um but both, I think, give something so special to the audience in those spaces. And then
yeah,
there are the people that are just not present at all, and you're like, clearly, my dude, this is not the gig that you want to be on. Maybe find a different jam, because it's not working for you. I don't like
yeah.
that. I feel bad for those people, because I know lots of people who have to take gigs that they don't necessarily want to take because it pays really well, or whatever, or they're stuck in it or something. So I
Yeah.
have empathy for those people, but I'm also like, find a new space. This one's not working for you.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've
I
all
didn't
seen
mean to
those
cut you
people,
off.
right? Where you're like,
Yeah,
you don't even want to be here, do you? I'm trying to like
yeah.
keep this light out of my face.
The
There we
sun is it's a heat seeker, man.
go.
It's killing it.
It's right. It's finding me. It's trying to annihilate me. Oh, that's actually not bad. It's not that bad.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So anyway, that I think that is probably my biggest, how I see and perceive people on stage. I tend to gravitate more when I'm shooting toward the people who are performing and the people who are in it. I mean, if I can catch the people who aren't really vibing with the gig in a space where they look halfway joyful, I try to do that, so at least it's not like, well, fuck that guy. But sorry, potty words. Um,
It's all right.
but I try to wrap people into the whole story of what I'm shooting, and sometimes it's just going to be somebody who's not really into his job. But mostly, I'm like, I want to see people who are deeply touched by what they're playing, and then also just super into the fun of it.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful moment to capture.
I love it.
It, it's interesting that you said that there are kind of three types of people altogether. That's a way I hadn't thought about seeing it myself.
I mean, I'm sure there's probably more categories, but that it feels like those are the most. And obviously, like, people will transition in and out of those spaces depending on what they're playing, and if it's a song that they don't necessarily really love, or maybe they're not as confident with it. Um, but but by and large, it's all three of those that
Yeah.
show up the most.
It's kind of like just kind of like a state of mind that manifests.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes people are like, I just want to sit with this music. And sometimes people are like, I'm going to put on a hell of a show for the fans. And I just love when people can pull themselves out of themselves and say, this is who I am as a person, and this is who I am as a performer. And sometimes those are two very distinctly different people. And
Hmm.
I know for some people, because I used to do a lot more music personally, and I just don't anymore. I have like a weird stage fright thing, but that's a whole other therapy session. But the advice that people have always given to me, they're like, you just have to pretend that like you're not you. You have to be this other person. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I show up as this little
Wow.
chaos goblin all the time. This is just me always. How do I amplify this to be something else? Just, but that's their like workaround is like, I get stage fright too,
Yeah.
but my performer self doesn't. My performer self is a completely different entity.
That is very interesting. And I've more and more I've kind of seen how and why that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fascinating. It's interesting you say that because people actually hire me specifically to help them clear away stage fright, and
Mm-hmm.
especially creative singers who want to get to just creating and singing free.
Right.
I help them do that. But one thing I notice is that stage fright isn't really so understood, right? Like people say these things and it's like, here's what works for me, but by and large, what's going on there? So what I see is that people get lost in the details of things. And that's what stage fright really ends up
Sure.
coming from. Where have you seen that in your own work?
As far as the stage fright and like working past getting through the details,
Yeah.
for me, and this is probably one of the biggest things that I ever tell people, clients, whatever, if they're working on a project, um, done is better than perfect. I will pause on posting things. I will hold something back. I will not post something because I'm like, I don't have the caption for it. I don't know what I'm going to say about this one. I don't know which one I should do. I have 7 different options, but I don't know which one I should post. I'm not going to post any of them. Just do it. Just do it. Just go out and do it.
Yeah.
Nobody cares which one you're doing. If they do, then they can air those grievances later. But at the end of the day, they're going to be mad about what picture you post or what clip you're posting. Be
Yeah.
kind. Be mindful. Are you hurting somebody with what you're posting? No? Cool. Post it. Show up. You get lost. It's exactly that. You get lost in the details. You get lost in the, well, what are people going to think? What
Yeah.
if I do the wrong thing? What if I make a misstep? What if I say something dorky and then somebody laughs at it? Nobody
Hmm.
is LOLing on the other side of an Instagram post. If it's weird or cringy, what they're going to do is, and then scroll on to the next one. They're not even going to LOL. They're just going to, that's all they're doing. Just a little air breath out, and then they're going to move on. And it's going to be so completely unrememberable, unmemorable, so devastatingly unmemorable, and then they're going to
Yeah.
move on and it doesn't matter. The details are murderers, really. But
Yeah.
you just have to do it. You just have to show up. And really, that is, I think, in my opinion, the key to every bit of success that somebody can have in a creative space or otherwise, really, anything that you're trying to do. If you're terrible at it, show up, learn, do something every single day and push it forward. Because how are you going to get past the garbage point if you're not
Mm.
willing to put in that time and effort? You know what I
Exactly. And that's what
mean? Like it
so
just,
many of us see.
mm-hmm. And that's everything. That's every single thing.
Yeah. It really is. It's getting lost in the details is it's the killer to the progress that you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, the details are the murderers.
Yes. There's one of my favorite authors that I have kind of gleaned a lot of stuff from is Austin Kleon, and he has the books Show Your Work and Steal Like an Artist. He's got a bunch of other stuff too. Um, But that's kind of a lot of the gist of what he says is like, you just have to show up and you have to do the thing and you have to be creative and you have to just push forward. It doesn't have to be some magnificent, huge act. Just do the little things all the time and it's going to be okay.
Yeah. That's powerful words.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
That's powerful
if
words.
you look at anybody who has any significant body of work, like Rick Rubin is a really good one for this, where you look at a lot of the stuff he shares and it's like, just get out there and create. Try the things.
Hmm.
You might not make something magnificent, but you might. You might. Who knows what the
Yeah.
little tiny things, but if you're not creating, if you are not doing the little things and doing the movements, then there will be nothing that comes from it if you're not trying. So you have to
Absolutely
try.
agree.
That's it.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, we all get this sort of fulfillment from creating things, and it's actually nothing to do with the quality. It really isn't.
No, no, no. And sometimes you just need to create for you, even if it's silly and if it doesn't make sense. Like I will, this is my favorite thing. I have teenage kids. And I will wake them up in the morning sometimes just playing guitar. I'll plug the amp in and make stupid songs. That will never see the light of day ever. But will they remember that when they're old? Yes. Yes, they will. Right now, they
Yeah.
hate it. They curse my very existence every single time I do it, but I do not care because it brings me so much joy. And it's just so silly.
Yeah.
But it's doing things. And if I were a musician, I'd probably be better about it, but I'm not. I'm a terrible musician. I just enjoy it, which I think is also important.
It is. It is. And, I often say that I'm a singer who hates singing, but singing isn't why I sing. It's more, something
Yeah.
more to it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. People call you mom on Instagram. I didn't know you were actually a mother.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids are 12 and 14, almost 13 and 14 and a half. They're very close together. And yeah, I live that mom life. I have a very like binary or duality existence where um I can be on a plane to go and photograph something really cool and I have a rider that people like, what beverages would you like? Do you want any particular snacks? And I'm like, no. Oh, good. I'm just happy to be here. And then, this morning I was fighting with somebody to pick their underwear up off the kitchen floor. Why was it in the kitchen? We don't know. I don't know why it was there, but here we are. So, you know, there's definitely a dual existence that I carry. But
Yeah. You got
lots of
boys.
grown people who are not my children call me mom too. And that makes me really happy. I love it.
Wow. Well, what a wonderful conversation. I've learned so much.
Well, good. I'm glad that it can be a little bit helpful.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see the beard pictures.
Well, I only have like one or two posts on my music page, but there's going to be, I think this one's going to be crazy this week because they're trying to break some Guinness World Records for the longest beard chain.
And you're going to
They
be a part of
connect
that.
their beards together. It's a whole thing. I don't, it sounds so preposterous and so ridiculous, but it is a thing and it gets like this really crazy like media attention every year. It's like, it's a thing.
It's beautiful.
I love
It's
it so
beautiful.
much.
We need things like that are just absolutely just silly
The world is
because
really heavy and the silliness is so necessary. And because I think if there wasn't silliness, if I wasn't able to be like, okay, we're going to be stupid for a couple weeks, I would die. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I think I would just perish with sadness because there's so much heavy stuff all the time.
yeah,
You have to find the joyful bits. And there's a
you
lot
have
of
to.
joyful bits all over the place, but you just have to look for them sometimes.
You have to.
Mm-hmm.
And the joy in life is about keeping on, moving forward.
Totally. And sometimes it's about a whole flock of beardy boys and girls. sometimes
And
sometimes that's the best part. So
yeah. Well,
thank you.
Elle, is there something that you want to promote that Is maybe it's a secret, something coming up other than the beard
No.
venture?
No, I think right now I'm just happy to be outside of a pandemic, and I'm ready for all the new things. It's going to be a
Yeah.
good next year. I'm just happy in my little contented space right now. Not really promoting anything too big.
Okay. Well.
But if anybody's going to be at NAM, I'll be there because we're very
Okay.
close. We're only 2 months away from NAM. So if you're not
Tell me,
ready,
what is
wait
NAM
2 months.
for the people who don't know?
Just kidding. It's 3 months. November, December, January. 3 months. Math is hard. Um, are you familiar? You're not familiar with NAM. It's the National. No. Yes. National Association of Music Merchants, and it is a huge convention in Anaheim. Um, it is. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The garbage men are here outside of my house, and it is very
We
loud.
can't even hear it. It's totally fine.
Fantastic. Yes. Anyway, it's the National Association for Music Merchants, and huge convention. It is the entire breadth, depth, and length of music industry stuff. So it is production, and it's instruments, and it is media support, and it is everything, everything, everything. Lots of really cool musicians come out and do expos for their endorsing companies. It's huge, and it is overwhelming, and it is incredible. There's tons of crazy concerts. I've met Stevie Wonder twice. Like it's a whole thing.
Wow. I live a little bit under a rock, and for the
Sure.
past 6.5 years, I've been studying music.
Mm-hmm.
People have asked me, why don't I know this band or this song? I'm like, I don't listen to stuff.
Right.
I don't really listen to much music, which is,
That's
say
okay.
what you will about that. But hey, that's really awesome.
It's fun.
What
It's a fun
what
time.
exactly are you're going to be doing some filming there? I mean, some.
Well, so I always joke that there's not really a reason for me to go to NAM. I just show up and hug people and remind them that they love me, um, which is not entirely untrue. That is actually kind of just what I do. But I always book shoots while I'm out there and reconnect because it's just kind of a gathering place of everybody. And so everybody is there all at the same time. They get to save on airfare and all of that stuff. So they're not flying me out to where they are. And I will, I can shoot with them there. And a lot of my companies that I work closely with will have me do sometimes product stuff, sometimes staff photos. So it's just a place where I am and everybody else is at the same time. And it makes it easy.
Well, that's extremely convenient.
Yeah, it's great.
You do a lot for your people.
I try. I try. I mean, pictures are one thing, but I try really hard to show up for people when I can. It's not always easy because life is messy, but
Absolutely.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, you can expect LJ at NAM this year, or in 3 months. 3 months.
yes,
2024, right?
yeah, January.
January. Awesome. And one thing I just thought of, if we could sum up your whole life, your professional story into maybe an autobiography, the title would probably be, you know, I'm here to hug people, but I'll probably take some pics along the way.
That's literally my whole life. Yes, like I just show up and hug people, and maybe I'll take a couple pictures.
Well, there you go. Title of your autobiography.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elle.
Thanks, Tristan.
And
Oh, did I lose you? There we go.
you're gone.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you so
back.
much, Elle.
I'm back.
Not for long. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Tristan.
you.
Have a good one.
Take care. Bye bye.